There's going to be one way to fix a car. In my world, there's one way. It's the way the OE says to repair the car. There's no questions asked.
Welcome back to BodyShop Leaders, the podcast where we talk with the people shaping the future of the collision repair industry. I'm your host, Daniel Burkholder, and today we're diving into a story that blends innovation, leadership, and real operational excellence. My guest is David Black, Corporate Collision Director at Number One Cochran. David has spent nearly 2 decades rising from the shop floor to leading a $75 million operation, 10 plus location MSO. He's known for embracing innovation early, from AI call centers to in-house ADOS calibration centers, while staying grounded in the fundamentals: people, process, and doing things the right way. David, I'm excited to have you here.
Good to be here with you, Daniel.
Excellent. I appreciate you taking the time, David. We're just going to jump right in and start learning about your experiences and your story. And you've spent nearly 20 years in the industry, starting at the shop level, working your way up. When you think back to those early days, what originally pulled you into the collision repair industry, and what made you realize that this was more than just a job for you?
Well, let me start with thank you for being so kind into 2 decades. I wish it were 2 decades. It's more close to 4 decades.
Thank you for
Um,
correcting me.
no problem. I like your numbers a lot better. I wish it was only, I wish I was back to where it was 2 decades. But I started in the business. I was that typical kid that my father and grandfather started a shop. I grew up in Morgantown, West Virginia, small town, at least a smaller town at that time. But they started a body shop and towing service and auto repair shop in 1956. And my dad had just come straight out of the military. He was an Air Force, and so he had exited the military and started the shop with my grandfather. I actually started working there, a typical kid at 12 years old, going in weekends, summers. It was different back then. Our generations, you didn't spend the whole summer just having fun like we would have loved to. The good thing was I learned a career. I learned a trade. In that time that I was from 12 years old up until the time that I was graduated high school and ready to head to college, I learned a lot. I learned to paint. I learned to do body work. I had learned how to do frame repairs. There's so much changed over those years, but it gave me a base that basically I looked at the industry and said, boy, this is really cool. This is really neat. You can take something and make it with your hands, and there's customers involved, and you're taking something that is completely broken and putting it back together. So that's how I got the start. The interesting part was when I graduated high school, I had my thoughts was, gee, I'm going to come run the business now and take over. And my father said, no, you're going to go to college because I don't want an idiot, taking over and running my business. And if you don't have a college education, you're going to be on the shop floor all your life. So if you want to learn to run a business, you need to get a degree. You need to show that you have that tenacity and willingness to learn. So that's how I got the start.
That is very fascinating. I enjoyed that background, and you have put in your time. There's no doubt about that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the early lessons that shaped you. And you mentioned one already where you just had to work. And you've spent years running operations at single shop independence. What were some tough lessons or defining moments during that period that really shaped your leadership style today?
I'll tell you, probably the biggest thing that came out first was when I graduated from college and went back into the business. Now I had a lot of new ideas and new things and knew I wanted to innovate what we were doing. But it was being that owner, learning to, and understanding owner entrepreneur, because basically you're responsible for everything. Every person that works for you, every member of your family, you carry a lot. And one of the biggest challenges in the whether it's the dealer industry or whether it's the one of the big five consolidators is finding people that really understand how to run a business, understand what it's like to be an owner, understand all those responsibilities, because you don't turn it off at night when you go home. You live with it. It's your life. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but that's how we learned. And honestly, Every business I've worked for in the past 30 plus years, I've ran that person's business like I own it. I know no other way to do it. And I think that's really shaped my career and it shaped the way the different things that I've done. And another thing that was really unique was going to work for small, whether it's a small single point dealer or a multiple dealer with a couple shops, 3 or 4 shops. We weren't an MSO, but we had to compete with the MSOs. So I had to learn and understand what they were good at and what their vulnerabilities were. And then as I grew in my career and tried to take businesses to that MSO level, I knew what I didn't want to do and I knew what I did want to do.
Very valuable insights. David, I hope it's okay if I dig in just a little bit here. I think there could be some
Sure.
value to our listeners on what did you see as the larger MSO's vulnerabilities as you tried to compete with them and scale up against them?
Yeah, it was taking, and it's people, getting people and enough people to do it on a large scale and understanding their largest vulnerability was not having that person running the store level that had a vested interest. How do you get there? How do you do that? How do you make that person think like an owner entrepreneur? That was one of their biggest weaknesses, in my opinion. The second one was they have to replicate so many different things on a large scale. It's hard to do. And we were able to do more with less, basically, to where they had to scale up. Everything they had to do, they had to replicate multiple times. One of the first things that I came to understand, and I brought it to here with me to Pittsburgh, was you may not need to replicate every service and every piece that you do at every location. I built 2 luxury stores here. I don't need that equipment to be Audi certified, to be Mercedes certified, to be BMW certified at every location. I'm able to do it with 2 locations, one on the north side, one on the south side, provide what our customers need, but to be able to do it in a scale without trying to replicate at every location.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving those insights. Very valuable. Let's jump forward a little bit in the timeline to when you joined Number One Cochran back in, I believe it was 2015. You stepped into a major leadership role there. What was the vision you had for the collision division at that time? And maybe tell us a little bit how close is that to what Body by Cochran has become today?
Yeah, it's very interesting because Rob Cochran and we met for the very first time, and I hadn't seen Rob in many years. When I was a shop owner in West Virginia, I actually purchased parts from Rob's father, and Rob was just a kid at the time and knew Rob. But we're full circle. Rob owned when I came back. Rob was the dealer principal. His dad had passed away. He was thrust into a position that he probably wasn't ready for, but he was well educated and he knew what he wanted. One of the things when we first sat down together to understand was because we didn't have to, we knew each other. It wasn't a matter of getting to know each other personally anymore. It was a matter of, okay, Rob, what's your vision? So as we sat down that first time, he had a very distinct vision. He didn't know how it played out or how it would work. And we sat and we talked for over 4 hours in our first get together. And we kind of lined out exactly what we wanted the MSO to look like. He didn't really understand what the MSO meant. He had 5 collision centers, basically at 5 dealerships operating 5 separate businesses. Understanding how to pull that whole thing together and what that would look like. My goal was to be at a minimum of 75 million after 10 years. We were able to get there. And we knew exactly what it was going to take. I took the experience that I had across the country at larger dealer groups, larger independents, ownership, and was able to say, okay, Rob, if you, I see what you want, but to get there, here's what you're going to need. And that's the first time we've got something very unique here. We've got a 150,000 square foot parts warehouse. It delivers parts to my collision centers twice a day. We built this thing from scratch. It went from zero to $3 million a month in revenue in 12 months. Now we're up to, we do roughly about 8.5 million in revenue Every month, we're going to eclipse the 100 million mark, but it's been a vital portion of building this thing out. It's dedicated to collision parts only. There's no regular dealership parts. And so we spent the first year and we basically used my collision centers as an R&D project. How's this going to work? And now we deliver to over 600 body shops every day across the Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, Northern West Virginia. So that was a big part. But trying to become what Rob wanted us to be, we knew it from day one. We knew what it was going to take to get there, and we've had a lot of bumps in the road, and but we've gotten to where we wanted to be.
It's very fascinating. And I love that journey that you obviously started when you sat down and you really dug into the vision of where do we want to go. So valuable. So as you grew Body by Cochran to 75 million, 10 plus locations, one of the largest dealer-owned collision groups in the country, looking back, what were some of the key turning points that helped to accelerate that growth?
Yeah. So what really helped us was, and I keep going back to this, but I can't say it enough, having the owner to be what he was. He's passionate about collision and he had a vision. Didn't know how to execute it, but had that vision. And one of the biggest things that we knew we had to do was take 5 independent shops and make them an MSO. That was step one. And that was one of the largest challenges, was to getting everyone that had been used to operating separately under under one umbrella and get them to operate differently, putting in processes and procedures that could be replicated at that level. Just building the structure. What is it like to operate as an MSO versus a single point multiple dealership chain? We at that point in 20, I think it was 2016, we decided, well, for us to do this properly, we needed our own branding. We didn't want to lose the branding of number one Cochran because the Cochran family's been here 75 years. We sell 50,000 cars a year. That's our customer base. So we didn't want to lose that, but we also wanted to get our own identity. So that's when we became Body by Cochran. We started the Body by Cochran brand, still kept Rob's name. Rob's still the owner, but it separated us out into our own entity to where we could, and I'll be honest with you, we manage our collision business in the dealer world just like an independent, which is very unique in this business. And when I say that, and dealers that are listening will understand this, no one from the fixed operations department or the sales department, the variable operations, have any autonomy over collision. Everything through collision stops with me and I report to Rob. So basically, there's not that interference of what you hear in the old style dealer of it's a place to drop expenses. It doesn't have to be a profit center. It just helps offset what the sales department can't pay for. It's very unique in the industry and it's really helped us grow.
That is interesting. I don't have a lot of experience in the dealership world, but I do know enough to know that often, like you were saying, there's that point where the collision shop is the place where the expenses go. It's not
Yeah.
really a profit center, but that is fascinating how you guys made a very strategic move from a branding perspective and from a business perspective to change that and to make you guys stand alone and make your own profit center. That's amazing.
Yes.
Dave, you've consistently been an early adopter. Things like AI call centers, in-house calibrations, digital repair planning. What gives you the confidence to lean into these innovations when so many others tend to hesitate or hold back?
So again, Rob, the owner, it wasn't a suggestion. His motto and his saying is, we don't want to be a car company. We want to be a technology company that happens to sell and service cars. And if you put that into true perspective, and this is what he truly lives. He's a grad of Carnegie Mellon University, very smart man with a degree in applied mathematics, but he's just not your typical car guy. He doesn't ask the car guy questions. It's all about how do we take care of our customers best? How do we service them? How do we take care of them? And how do we take care of our team? If we do those two things, What we do doesn't matter, whether it's selling cars, whether it's servicing cars, or whether it's fixing cars in the collision business. So using technology, I've used it for a few different things. We're using technology to help solve the shortage of qualified people in the industry. We all know that it's hard to find good estimators. It's hard to find good customer service people. When you find them, you have to grow them, and what we're using technology for is to give them assistance. It gives us the ability to be able to get more done with the number of people that we currently have. The industry itself has placed so much more administrative burdens on our stores. For many years, the insurance industry has been able to pass off a lot of these duties to us. And quite frankly, a lot of them are probably better performed by us because we're right there at the store level. But again, what used to be, if we had four technicians in the back, we would have one admin person to handle four technicians. That ratio now is 1 to 1. Everything that I'm seeing, if you're not using advanced technology, it's going to be two admin for every one production person in the coming years. And we can't survive at that. So what we've done is to grasp technology, to try to understand. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of what we've done over the last 3 to 4 years have been R&D projects. Some worked, some didn't. But we are what you would consider as an early adopter. So we've made mistakes and we've done well on several areas, and we've now tipped things over the edge of the spear to where it's actually becoming very productive for our people.
I love that aspect of taking technology and leveraging it to make your A players more productive. I really think there's this fear of technology taking away jobs. And there is that aspect. I'm not going to downplay that, but there is the aspect where technology can just help your best people be even better. And I think that's where we really want to lean into. And that's what I hear you saying in your early adoption is you're taking your people and giving them the tools, the technology to be better.
Correct. And it's even about our customers. The other side of this is the team members want advantage, but we also have to understand, and if you don't understand this after COVID, you missed it. Customers today want something different. COVID changed everything. Good, bad, or indifferent, it changed how we do business, where we meet the customer. You have to now understand where that customer wants to meet you. We've always just done it our way and forced the customer, you have to come in for this, or there was a set process. So with the AI systems that we're utilizing right now, our AI takes over when we close. And basically, we've created an AI agent that is really good. It is so good, we have folks show up at the store asking for that person that for the AI agent. We've had folks send pictures of their dogs to the AI agent while they're having that normal conversation. We're very clear that this is an AI assistant, but they get so wrapped up in the conversation is so real, they build a relationship with this AI being. It's I've never seen anything like it. I've used some of the videos and it's wow. And we've had so many customers thank us for having the ability to take photos, get an AI estimate before they come to the shop, get it scheduled, and we can take a customer all the way through the process. On a Saturday, they have an accident. AI will connect with them when they call the shop. It'll connect with them. It'll send them a link to take photos. It'll upload. It'll give them a scope estimate from the video and the photos. At that point, they can book a repair into one of our shops. They can set up a rental car. On a Monday morning, we'll get 4 or 5 or 6 people that show up at the shop with an appointment to drop off that we haven't even talked to. And if you think about that, how powerful that is to the customer. They're so gracious to the fact that they were able to do this while they were home. And again, it's about meeting that customer where they want to be met. And then we give them an off ramp at any time if they want to speak to a person, individual at the store level. We give them that off ramp. But it's truly about understanding the expectations of your customer. What do they want instead of trying to tell them what they should have?
I couldn't agree more with that. That was really crazy. Your story there about the level of excellence that your AI is able to offer to your customer base. That is outstanding that you guys have been able to get to that point. And Congrats on that. I'm sure it's only going to get better as you guys continue to build and as you continue to grow that system that you have in place. That's really amazing.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Dave. Yeah.
no, just another piece to that is, and this helps our team members. We have the ability now in our management system as we move a car from disassembly and repair planning to waiting on parts to in process body to moving to paint prep. We have now developed AI videos, which again, it's the same AI agent that they've been speaking to since day one, and it looks like a very human person, but that video comes to their phone, and every time the car moves, so as our CSRs move the car through the process, it will automatically send that video out to the customer. It's very informative. The customers love it because one of the things we're not very good at is keeping our customers updated. And that's one of the biggest things in this industry that's always been a challenge. We've taken stores that were high 80% CSI, put them to 98, 99% just by the pieces that we're talking about.
That is outstanding. I'm sure we're going to have some people that listen to this that are going to want to learn more about this, but we better let that one. I really appreciate though your insights on that. Let's shift a little bit into another level of technology that I know you guys are embracing with your in-house ADOS calibration centers. Obviously that I'm sure this has made a lot of changes to your like cycle times, your quality, your control.
Yeah.
What problems were you trying to solve and what's been the biggest impact internally and for your customers?
So the biggest thing I was trying to solve is exactly what you just said, cycle time and controlling the repair. Because once the car left my shop, went to one of our very own dealerships, it just gets lost in the shuffle. Frankly, it would take me a week to get an Audi calibrated. It would take me a week and a half to get a Toyota calibrated. We just can't have that. So as we built our three calibration centers, we embraced nothing but OE technology. We will not do any aftermarket scans, post scans, calibrations. We won't do it in the parking lot. We've set these things up. We've spent the money. But what it did was take away waiting on these sublets. We did the same thing with the glass business. It's about controlling the repair. It's not about controlling costs. This was probably a more expensive model, but it's about how much cycle time. It's how quickly can we get that car back to our customer. That's what they care about. And they care about that it's done correctly. One of the largest things that became evident as calibration started to develop is how unprepared our dealerships are. It's not something they're used to. It's not a lot of calibrations take a lot of floor space. They don't have it. The dealership just does not have it. So to say they were not and still probably are not performing calibrations properly is accurate. And it's not because they don't want to or they don't care. It's just the training from the OEs was not there. And quite frankly, the floor space was just it's unbelievable. So what we've done now is those calibrations come to our calibration centers. The dealerships will take them there simply because we're doing it according to OE process. And it gives them the ability, they don't have to take that space. So we solved a couple problems, but the main one was, to your point, was the cycle time and throughput.
Those are great insights again. And I very grateful to hear your side of the coin from the dealership's perspective, because I hear this from collision centers and conversation in the industry about how the dealerships really don't know what they're doing. So it was interesting to hear your perspective as you get a little behind the curtain view from a dealership perspective as well. So it's very fascinating to hear that. And what you shared makes total sense, that from a space perspective, from maybe a training perspective, and you guys have been able to tee that up to help both your collision centers and your dealerships, which is amazing.
Yes.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about balancing technology with humans. So as you push for new technology, but you guys are also known for being that deeply customer and team focused. How do you maintain that balance of innovation without losing the human element?
Yeah, and that's an interesting question. One of the things, and because it's a fear of any team member, I'm going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. And what we've done, what I feel is a pretty good job of is sharing the vision and sharing what we're truly trying to use innovation for. Sitting down with the teams at the store level and walking them through the plan and showing them, here's why we're doing it. Here's what it's going to do. We're not looking to eliminate people. We're not looking to cut costs. We're looking to be able to provide a better service for our customers and an easier environment for the team. But I think the biggest part of it is messaging. And it's not just walking in one day and saying, here's what we're going to do, and here's why we're doing it, and walking away. We have to be prepared to spend the time day after day as we develop the technology at the store level. I've got a team of people that work directly at the stores, and we've implemented store by store. We get them up and running. And then once you get that working model, it's so much easier to progress on through the system. But the biggest thing is getting them to enhance the technology. We've got folks now that will say, gee, I have my lunch back that I don't have to worry about. I have time that I can get up and do something that I need to do because I know the phone will get answered. I know that duties are being taken care of.
I like that aspect of it's the messaging, it's how you guys are helping them to embrace the vision that you have behind this and getting past that fear of you trying to replace them, which I know is
Yeah.
not your intent in any way. That's outstanding. Dave, you've built teams that stay with you for years and grow with the organization. What's your approach to developing people, creating that culture, and building loyalty in a large MSO setting?
So it goes back to what I said. We're looking for a different person. We're not looking for someone that is just, they have no goals. We're looking for someone, and here's what I tell people when I go. I'm involved in several trade schools across the country, and I personally go and I'll sit down with prospective graduating technicians. And what I want them to understand is I need to understand what your short term and long term goals are. I know where you are today. You're a tech student, and here's what we're going to do for the next 24 months. We have a mentoring program that, because let's just be honest, when they come out of a tech school, they have about one third, if they're lucky, of the skills that they're going to need to be really productive in this business. So we've got a 24-month mentoring program that we bring them in. It's very regimented, it's documented. We communicate with them. There's modules that they have to go through. And basically, we grow them from that tech school graduate. And I just need them to be able to do a few core things well. I need them to be able to disassemble and reassemble effectively. I need them to be able to fix a 3 or 4 hour dent. I need them to be able to understand and be able to perform basic plastic repair. And I need them to be able to understand and how to prep a car. If you give me those skills, then now I'll put you into my program and we'll take you over the next 24 months to that level of being probably a high B, low A technician. Then, but ultimately, that's the short term. What do you want to do 5 years from now? What do you want to do from 10 years from now? Do you want my job at some point? We've got a lot of avenues that we can take you in. And one of the things that I tell the prospective hires is if you're looking for a job, this isn't for you. If you're looking for a true career with a career path to spend your entire future in an industry, then that's what I can offer you. And honestly, growing those recruits from the ground up, that's what we're doing. We're looking to grow. I've got one young man that works for me. He started out 10 years ago as a detailer, and he's one of my regional operations managers now. That's a great success story to take people through that part of their career. So that's how we do it, that we're probably a little different than a lot of companies.
That is truly the way to do it, though. From my perspective, is you're starting from before you even hire them, you are
Yeah.
starting to build that team. So you're finding the right people. I think you might have used, you're looking for a different person. I'm not sure if I used quite the
We
right
are.
word there. That's great. So another question for you, Dave. From your vantage point, when you have multiple locations, you're managing thousands of repairs. What do you think most shops aren't paying attention to right now, but they really should be?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is everyone in this industry has always gotten wrapped up in is your sales. We are in a different time in this industry. If you're not measuring car count year over year versus top line sales, you could be slowly going out of business and you don't know it. We have such of a large price increase every year with technology, how much more parts are going on a car, how much more they cost. Your top line sales can go up 10, 15%, but your car count can go down 10 to 15%. Eventually, that's going to catch up because the profitability on the parts end of the business is not as good as what the labor side of the business is. And if you're losing car count, you're losing labor. And I think understanding that there's going to be less accidents, ADOS is working. As it continues to get more and more on every year, there's more cars on the road with ADOS. The front and back taps that we used to have consistently in the collision business they've been reduced by 50%. So you have to understand what's happening in the industry, what a huge investment it is going to be in the collision business today with all the new technologies. I don't think a lot of folks in your smaller shops see it coming, but there's every year there's more and more cars that they can't work on. Those are big things. Equipment, training, true quality control. These are all things that we need to keep our eye on. And lastly, as I said, we need to listen to our customers. We need to understand what they're telling us what they want. We've just never paid attention.
Boy, David, you just laid out a number of gold nuggets there for any shop that's looking to grow and to actually lead into the future. The one that I'll maybe recap is the car count. You're exactly right. As costs have went up, your sales are going up, but keep a tab on your car count to make sure that you're not slowly dying, even though your sales may be climbing. One wrapping up question here for you yet, Dave, is if you imagine the collision repair business 5-10 years from now, what's one change or evolution you believe will define the next decade of the industry?
What I would say, and it's a question that is very vast. How do we repair cars? Because I think that's what has never really been defined by this industry. There was always so many different opinions, whether it was the opinion of the shop, whether it was the opinion of the manufacturer, whether it's the opinion of the insurer. How do we what constitutes a correct repair? I think in the coming years that's becoming clearer and clearer. There's going to be one way to fix a car. In my world, there's one way. It's the way the OE says to repair the car. There's no questions asked. What I think we've done a poor job in the industry is we're trying to answer what should be two questions with the answer to one. How do we repair the car and what does it cost? Those are two separate questions. And I think the industry in the coming years, and we're getting close to defining this is how the car must be fixed. What the cost is, that's another question. We can talk about all, and I've told this to many insurance partners that I deal with on a regular basis. I'm not going to change how I fix the car. No one outside of the OE is going to tell me how the car should be fixed. Not my people, not your people, no one involved. This is what we're going to do. We can sit down all day long and talk about what the cost should be. We want to be fair. We're not anti-insurance. We want to be fairly compensated. But at the end of the day, we can talk about costs, but it's not going to change how we fix the car. And I think that's what the industry is in the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to be very well defined. And if you're going to define your spot in the industry, you need to be prepared to answer that question.
Very insightful answer. So, David, just one last question for you. In your own words, what does being a body shop leader mean to you?
In my years, wish it were still 20, I've seen a lot of change. The change has been massive. And I think right now, what we're doing as leaders is ushering in, I'm in the waning years of my career, but we're ushering in new leaders to take the challenge to the next level. They're going to see things that we've never seen before. They're going to see the advancements of AI. They're going to see the advancements of technology. There's just so much that's happening. What's important to me in the last few years of my career is having my guys that I've had with me for probably 8 to 10 years, getting them prepared for these next roles, bring in those new changes, and having them understand and have that desire to keep pushing the industry to a much better place.
I appreciate those words of wisdom from a man that has decades of experience of as you close out your career and pass that on to the next generation. Those are powerful words. David, this has been outstanding. Your perspective on innovation, leadership, and building great teams is exactly what this industry needs more of. And I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely a pleasure as well. To our listeners, thanks for joining us on Body Shop Leaders, powered by Body Shop Marketing. If you've got value from today's episode, share it with another shop owner and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you on the next episode.